Hello, everyone. We've got the Whale fam hanging out Friday night. There's a whole lot going on tonight, so I'm super excited for everyone to hang out with us, especially because we have super special guests tonight for our Metaverse Makers, Movers, and Shakers series. We have
Is somebody else coming?
Yeah, surprise! It's MH. Super surprised to be here. Jazz hands.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
I don't know why I'm here yet, but yes, thanks for having me. Hopefully it's a good time for all.
You're here to tell us stories.
Story time.
Yes, it's been a pretty crazy week in the metaverse for sure. So what better way to start the weekend than with stories from you? You know, kind of making waves first when I met you in the Cryptokitties server, and then hanging out in Whale, and now moderating Top Shot and kind of throwing the band hammer around when needed, which is awesome.
It's my favorite thing.
Perfect.
Sure, I guess my first favorite thing is being incredibly sarcastic and trying to point out things that everybody should know if they took the time to read anything on the Discord, but that's never going to change. So it's always like that.
My favorite. Absolutely. So
I guess before we get started, just want to shout out to my anybody who's listening or watching, I guess, from Canada. So I'm repping the retro Roots Canada wear. So
perfect. I'm just repping tacos. So we got that going.
That's right.
So to start, I think maybe a good point before we get off into some of the really exciting stories, or maybe these haven't heard them yet. Could be. Tell us how you got started in crypto and the metaverse. Like, what does the beginning look like here?
Okay, so you know what? My memory is usually pretty bad. So I had to go back through some of my old records, looking at, purchase histories and things like that. And I was a little bit surprised to see some of them. So my story begins probably early 2016. There is a story that kind of comes before that, but I'll probably touch on it a little bit later. But yeah, my first Bitcoin purchase was 2016 in February. And then, a bit of selling and buying and holding. And then I came across an article about Ethereum, and it really, really fascinated me because of the utility that it was bringing to the space. And I remember reading, some hackathon or proof of concept that got released at the time of, just driving out of a parking garage and having, sensors reading the vehicle and just automatically debiting your wallet and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I guess what I did is that I transferred, or I guess I traded some Bitcoin for Ethereum. No, I didn't. I kept the Bitcoin, but I bought some Ethereum because that's the, I guess my claim to fame for Ethereum is my first purchase was under $10 per ETH, which was pretty cool. So I buy it. I think I had 125 and I'd spent less than $1,500 at the time. So I bought and sold and cashed out over the years, the next 2 years. And then really where it all kind of changed was when I had heard, like everybody else, the stories about Cryptokitties breaking the internet. And I was busy on something. I don't even remember what it was at the time, but I didn't get in the first, couple weeks. But I guess to the disappointment of my wife, I discovered Cryptokitties, where I decided to create my account and buy my first CryptoKitty on New Year's Eve, sometime in the afternoon on New Year's Eve 2017. And we had guests coming over. and I mean, to tell you that I got immediately hooked is probably a total understatement because, I was curious and I was breeding cats that should, in hindsight, never have been bred. I was buying cats that should never have been bought. And then proceeded to ignore our guests for the rest of the evening. I was back and forth from the living room to my den to check on the status of my kitties that were breeding. So it was what got me behind just the math behind the scenes and the statistics and all the just the cool factors that went into it, and and even then nothing was really easy to get information wise. So it was half the time kind of doing stupid things and learning from that. So I guess I'll wrap the history of Cryptokitties with I bought two Gen Zeros on that first evening, The first one I actually bought resale because I was trying to buy it from the kitty clock, and Papa CK picked it first, and then proceeded to turn and double his money in about 30 seconds when he listed it, and I insta bought it for something just over an ETH at the time, which was, it just felt foolish. But I'm like, I gotta have one. And then I bought another one, which I actually did get directly from the clock. And as it turns out, that first Gen Zero that I bought is one of the coolest ones that I have to date, because anybody who's played knows that it was a while before those the gems were introduced. And the first one that I bought turned out to have two gold gems on it, so that was pretty cool.
Nice. It's a pretty badass cat. And so for people who are maybe not as familiar, the kitties get gems depending on how many cats had been born with that trait so far. And as long as there hadn't been any other kitties in their family tree with the trait, then they would get a gem. The first one's a diamond, up to number 10 are gold, and then you have amethyst up to 100, and then there's lapis up to 500. So there are a lot of gems, but having 2 gold ones is like super badass, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I should have sold it back in the day when I had an offer of I think it was something like 20 ETH, just because it was unheard of at the time. I'm like, oh no, I think it's going to go higher. It did not go higher.
Not could still.
Oh, well, with the NFT boom that seems to be going, there's no telling where anything's going. You can't predict anything anymore, it seems.
That is exactly it, and especially because I think right now with gas being so high, like people aren't breeding just because it's unsustainable. So there's kind of looking more toward the collectability and other ways to identify and grow your kitty herds.
Yeah, which is really, it's kind of unfortunate because we're so close to the 2 millionth kitty being born, but there's no justification to take care of whatever the gap is, which is I think still probably like 5,000 or something like that.
Yeah, we're super close, but not quite there yet. I can actually pull up the site and see where we are at, but I would say it's interesting, because you were one of the first people I think that I met when I joined Cryptokitties way back in the day, and it was January 2017, so maybe just like a half a month after we started. So
we've bonded and stayed close ever since.
Yes, and that's been awesome. It looks like we have about 3,300 kitties to go, so we're really close. We're getting there. And you've been moderating the Cryptokitties Discord too.
Yeah, I confess that I've probably been a little bit negligent in spending a lot of time moderating over there. There's probably a lot of things that I know less about than some of the players that are over there. But yeah, I've been moderating for a couple years.
Yes, and we've definitely had a lot of, it was kind of like the Wild West, I think, when we started over there, very similar to how Top Shot is currently.
Well, interesting. So I'm. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm here because I like to tell stories too. So maybe the part that some people, you may not even remember, Moose, but before I became a mod, I got banned from the Cryptokitties server.
Did I ban you?
I don't think so. I forget exactly what it was. I probably got into a bit of a scrap with someone, but I honestly don't remember what it was, but I do remember being banned from the CryptoKitties server for a week, and then not too long after I became a mod. So I guess there must have been some understanding for what would have gotten under my skin that day.
I think that there were always, in really any of the crypto communities we've been in that have projects associated, right? There's people who have very, very strong feelings about what's going on, and having that passion is really what makes people great community members. Sometimes how we're expressing our feelings is not as constructive as it could be, but at the end of the day, you get to the root of the thing, and it turns out, people really, no matter how they're expressing it, they want to make the projects better. And I think that's, kind of what we saw with a lot of the moderators, and, kind of carried over into Top Shot as well. We see a lot of people who are super passionate about it, and, trying to get people on board. And honest to God, I think they made me a moderator in Cryptokitties so that way it would help me channel my feedback a little bit more productively. So they're like, oh, well, she's going to have to watch what she says asleep.
you know what? That may be what they do with me as well. It's got to channel that enthusiasm and raw opinion.
Yes. Yes, but it's okay because we've done well. And then branching out from Cryptokitties, because I feel like that's where a lot of us really started. But like, what have you been doing between Cryptokitties and now that's not Whale or Top Shot? Like, tell us about those adventures first.
Um, do we have to? We don't have to talk about Cheese Wizards.
No. I actually had a Cheese Wizard shirt on earlier because when I joined Dapper, they sent me one, and I specifically changed to not have you see it.
I appreciate that. My therapist, tells me I'm doing quite well with my recovery.
Yeah.
But okay, so I guess
shall not be discussed.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say, everything about Cheese Wizards was really really interesting. There was a lot of good gameplay to it. The mechanics were cool. It was like any lottery too, in a way, because it was really really top heavy in terms of prizes. So that's kind of, I think, where things went a little bit kind of off the rails at the end. And people that that were people who'd spend a lot of time playing other games together. There was still a little bit of that, I guess, latent trust that wasn't where it needed to be. And then as a result, some whale, which it sounds, I guess, kind of funny considering some of the things that have been thrown in my direction lately. But some whale came in and essentially bought the victory, and that was that. So still have the tokens. Lots of interesting parts too that went along the way, like with the vulnerability that was discovered after the first, what turned out to be the first tournament started. So that was still kind of cool. Let's see, what else have I been into? I know I've bought a few interesting pieces of art over the years. Definitely it's taken a bit more of a focus since Nifty Gateway started making it a little bit more easy to acquire. Well, at the time, I guess it was easier. It's certainly becoming less and less easy. Just like again, like Top Shot's more difficult to get them to take your money. But that's, I guess, part of the fun, right? I've definitely got some favorite artists that I've looked at. I bought some Gods Unchained cards when they first dropped. But I never, I think I've played a handful, maybe 3 or 4 games of Gods Unchained. Seemed really cool, but it wasn't something that I had done, like card style competitive games wasn't something that I had done when I was younger, I guess. So, I thought it was really well constructed and had a good player base. It just was never something that grabbed me and kept me, but still have all the NFTs from that. Well, I guess one thing that I discovered, I'd kind of, I guess, also forgotten about it, but Cryptokitties wasn't my first NFT.
Oh, yeah. Tell. There's been a lot of things with kitties today, so I'm curious.
Yeah, my first NFT was actually the same day, but it was Crypto Tanks, which I don't know. I suspect there are very few people out there who know what Crypto Tanks was, because it never became anything except for the promise of having a little bit of tank warfare. But pretty sure, I never really dug into it too far, but pretty sure it was just like an ICO masquerading as a game at the time, and it just was a bit of a cash grab from some development crew. So to be honest, I assume I still have whatever the tokens would be somewhere in a wallet buried away somewhere, but I haven't gone looking for them. So that was probably the first.
There were a lot of things early on, because there was a thing with the slime too or something.
Yeah.
People were into, so.
Yeah, and I also, my ledger, which I used to use very, what would be the word? I was very studious and consistent in putting things into my hardware wallet, which I should probably get back to trying to be a little bit more focused on that. But yeah, there's still random sprinklings of different token, or I guess alts from back in the ICO days, like was it BAT tokens, and I can't even think of half of them. I've got Golem, which was supposed to be this amazing supercomputer rendering platform where everybody was going to get the ability to share their, again, the whole basis of Ethereum, right, is it's a world computer. So it was focused on rendering graphics, which I guess may have gone by the wayside over the years. So, oh, that's a great question. So if somebody's asking, what's my favorite NFT of all time? Oh. Okay, let me think about that and get back to you, because I have so many. I would still like to hold some of the ones that I was forced to sell a few months back. It's a we ended up in a situation personally where we needed to basically free up some money that we didn't otherwise have access to, and that forced me to sell a few things. So probably in that would be one of the. I know my favorite artist is hands down Hackatow. Big fan of the work and the statements, and they're just great people too. Like, interacting with them through the server, I just absolutely adore them. So I have a couple things that I've ordered from them. I'm still kind of anxiously awaiting their arrival. I ordered a Podmork probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I wanted to have a Canadian design done for it, so I had early views of it, but then they got super busy with there was a Rome or some sort of a show in Rome that they got really involved in, and then everything in Top Shot kind of blew up too. So that's kind of on the side. And I also, I forget who to thank, but somebody in the in the Hackatow, I think it was in the Mort Cafe channel, mentioned a physical piece that they had made 23 of. So no NFT for it, mind you, but I have a physical art, like an actual piece of Hackatow art that I'm going to get to be able to have framed and hang on my wall soon. So that's I'm pretty excited about that. I know.
Kind of non-fungible, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of the definition, isn't it? It's a unique thing. So,
what new and exciting projects am I watching and hopeful about in the next 6 to 12 months? You know what? It's a tough question for me to answer because I guess I kind of have to confess that I've gone through a really weird period recently. I'm not sure how much to share in this broad audience, but both my wife and I lost our jobs unexpectedly about 3 or 4 weeks ago, right after we had moved out of the city out into some space, and it's been a bit of a stressful time. However, pretty sure one of the reasons we've mentioned Top Shot a few times. So long way around to say the project I'm most interested in right now is me. So I don't.
That's awesome. So what are you doing?
Well, that's kind of the thing is I'm kind of the project, in every sense of the word. I'm trying to, I'm getting involved in some of the, event activity with Top Shot, doing some coordination, trying to find things that the community can kind of interact and bond over, and more so than just talking about or moment values and things like that. So that's got me pretty excited. Yeah, win packs. Win packs. Ooh, yeah, that's I'm kind of getting back to liking win packs again, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, honestly, it sounds like a bit of a cop out. There's lots of interesting artists. I mean, God, there's so many great artists that are coming out right now. I bought something yesterday. I'd never heard of the artist before, but it's this cute little thing that looks like a cute little monster that'll apparently eat your face. But it just caught me, and I'm like, I gotta have one of those. And and this is gonna sound like I'm kissing up, but I love Decryptolorian's work, so I'm always out there keeping an eye on it. And he kind of, he's been really generous with his stuff and runs great competitions and things like that for collecting. But I really like the stuff he puts together too. So
he's definitely making some amazing things, and I've been giving away some of his work during Marbles. See, now you can come to Marbles.
And I guess the only other answer is the obvious one, which is I guess I have to like Beeple, because if somebody can sell their work for $69 million, then there must be something there, right?
And I saw, interestingly, that it was Metacove and Metaverse who bought that.
See, I hadn't actually figured out who had made the purchase. That's cool.
That was announced earlier today. So that's interesting because, if you think about the B20 project and all that's going on.
Yep.
And there's some interesting connections there. So
I am, sadly, I will also have to say, I'm a reluctant fan of CryptoPunks. I am, thanks to Pete Overzet and his crew, come to recognize and accept that I am a no punker. Although if somebody wants to try to partner up and do some fractional purchases, now you know how to find me, because I might be interested. But yeah, as a stupid no punker. I had many opportunities, including chatting with when was it wrapped punks were a thing, and Pranksy was out there, flooding the market with them. I'm like, I don't understand this. I don't understand. Is it a punk? Is it not a punk? Is it just a pick? Like, what is happening? And like, he was selling them for, I think it was like 1 point something ETH and then 2 ETH. And then before you know it, they're all gone. And I'm like, shit.
Pretty much. I'm also a no punker. So I look at everybody else going and doing well. And I'm like, yay, good for you. Like, it's a cool thing to see in the space, but I don't really I looked at them, I'm like, I don't see any that are like, I'm really super drawn to. So
yeah, you're definitely, well, I shouldn't put it on you, but I don't know if many people like CryptoPunks for the art, right? It's everything else but the art in a way. But, and I don't know, somebody spent 4,300 ETH in the last 2 days on one. And I mean, I get that it's a good one, but holy.
Yeah, there were 2 of them that sold a whole bunch. We're now looking for non-punker NFTs. So it's being requested in the chat. We can start that. We'll do other things instead.
Okay, should we go back to the questions for a bit?
We can do that.
All right. What has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your career, and how did you? Oh boy. I've had a lot of challenges for sure. I've been, so kind of similar to the, what's my favorite project, and the project is me, because I've always been trying to figure out, what do I want to do when I grow up. The biggest challenge I've had to overcome in my career has really been trying to find something that fulfills me, and I'm still looking, and then every time I think I've landed I've been a contractor, in the IT space for many years. Lucy and I've talked about, I worked at GM for quite a while in IT, when I was in my younger years. Thought for sure I was going to be CIO, but that was, me being young and overconfident. I guess what it comes down to is I guess I'm jealous of people who love what they do and go to work every day and love it. So I've got lots of different education degrees and certs and all that kind of stuff. And I love cybersecurity these days, but, have I found a job that I feel fulfilled in? Not yet. So again, going back to kind of that project that I mentioned earlier, which is, me, what I think I'm very, very fortunate that Top Shot has kind of taken off the way that it has. And what it's enabling me to do is actually explore what will kind of yield that kind of satisfaction, personal and professional satisfaction, without the stress of having to, follow somebody else's vision. I've had my whole life, I've had lots and lots of ideas and visions that I've been able to only take so far, just whether it's just not having the right skills or the right time, or most of the time it's a time thing, and you need to work because all the obligations that we have in life. And, so that's kind of, I think, what I'm looking forward to in the next few months, is just being able to focus on, how to put what I've been fortunate to have, I don't know, won, is that the right word? Whatever's happened in Top Shot, those of us that had the, the privilege of being invited in to consult on it early on. That's just, it's miraculous. It's the kind of thing that, I joke with my friends. I've always lived what we call the YOLO lifestyle, right? It sounds kind of cheesy, but it's intentionally cheesy, right? But I was just joking with them the other day. The Wall Street Journal article made me laugh, because they referred to those of us that have been sort of successful in Top Shop as being unlikely millionaires. And I'm like, hey, who are you calling unlikely? Like, you don't live the YOLO lifestyle and never expect to hit. So
that hesitant optimism, right?
Because math, right? I'm just kidding. Obviously, you don't live the YOLO lifestyle and expect to hit, but that's just the kind of running joke about it. So
I think that's one of those things, maybe, because I feel like we're very similar in that we're like, we've done a lot of things, and you're like, I'm doing the thing, but it's not quite fulfilling. So how do I find something else that will encompass my interests and my skills and, find a place that I can tolerate existing,
Yeah.
which has definitely, I think, the last year in the pandemic, as we found our way through the crypto space a little bit more, been, kind of very instrumental in helping us maybe at least point in the right direction.
Agreed, for sure.
Which has been a fun adventure, sometimes a little bit scary, sometimes very like, what? Because it is a very YOLO lifestyle. And I feel that. I know my parents, like I'm staying with them this week, and so they just keep going like, did you imagine that things would turn out this way? I was like, how do you even predict that?
Oh yeah. I mean, never in, well, think back to the first, I'd say, few months in Top Shot, right? You and I can kind of relate there. It's like, the market, even, well, once they finally introduced a market.
Yes, because that wasn't even a thing
that was not a thing early on. It was like, hey, who wants to trade, my LeBron for your Durant? Okay, here, let me gift it to you, and then you gift it back. But there wasn't really a lot of scamminess at all happening back then. But once you moved, yeah, and then once the marketplace came along, it kind of grew. But I lost my train of thought a little bit. But I think the point was just that there was no indication that when things were kind of pulling back a little bit, that it was ever gonna take off the way that it did. And again, I'm very, very. I feel very, very fortunate. I don't feel at all like I did something that deserved anything special. It was just I happened to have the opportunity, and it's interesting. You see all the people even today talking about the marketplace fire sale. Prices are dropping. Everything's terrible. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is the fourth dip or maybe even the fifth dip that we've seen since we started. So. Not saying it.
Scary when you've been through them before a couple times.
Yep. I actually had got to the point. It's probably a fair statement to say that anybody who's been in Top Shot at any point in time before a rise wishes they spent more, right? Wishes they took more of a, hey, I could have, if I'd put just another $1,000 in at this point in time, I could have gone. I actually at a point had to stop buying because it was feeling like I was being incredibly irresponsible because I wasn't buying with ETH. I was my ETH was where it was, and it was invested in some NFTs and things. Like I'm just gonna buy packs with. I mean, that's their model, right?
Because it works.
It's very accessible, right? And that's kind of what's taking it mainstream is the accessibility, and that it is built on top of the blockchain, but it's not blockchain focused. But I had to stop buying. I'm like, there's a few legendary packs where I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. You buy, well, people probably hate hearing it, but like you could buy 10 packs at a time. So $2,300 US, you rip them. It's like, okay, 5 more. So, and I mean, when the common packs were out, I mean, the sky's the limit. It's just 10 and 10 more and then 10 more and then 10 more. And I mean, that's the biggest thing that, that I think people who've been around miss about the game. And I've talked about this a few times with the internal team. It's just, ripping packs is the greatest part of the game. I mean, yeah, money's good and the return's good, but collecting is just, well, I have 11,000 Cryptokitties, right? I kind of have a bit of a hoarding / collector mentality. I remember everybody was like, you should really sell some of those things. I'm like, no, I love them. Every one of them. They're my babies. I'm not selling them, and I've gotten a little better over the years, but still don't sell them.
These are fun because when you breed them, then you have to hatch the egg. They pop out of the egg. It's sort of like the pack opening experience. You're like, what is the surprise? We get that adrenaline boost,
Well, yeah, a lot of us jokingly call ourselves degenerate gamblers, and I would probably say you're not far from the truth when you say that.
Right there with you. Like that's why we're here, I think, Yeah.
Okay. I feel like the chat's scrolled by. What have I? Okay. When packs. You know what? I don't know. Hopefully soon.
Crossing our fingers, yes.
Which NFTs most bullish on? Again, definitely gonna go all in on Hackatow. Like, who else want to watch it? I like some of the weird stuff too.
Weird stuff. I mean, you got the face-eating monster, right?
what's the monster? You know what? I should probably try to pop something up and remind myself. But well, I like Katie Arrington stuff too, but I don't know if that makes me a degenerate in a different way. But I really
No,
like her
she's
stuff.
awesome, and she came to Whale to do a Q&A once upon a time, a long time ago.
I actually own one of those NFTs with the three.
With all the kitties and
the three. Can we say the three sexy kitties? I don't know. Is that
they absolutely are. You can say anything here.
okay? Okay. You know, Cryptolorian, I love you too, man. And you know what? I appreciate you'd hire me as a CIO. I would work for you as CIO.
Yes.
Win MH100k so people can invest in you. Well,
win shitcoin, by the way.
Hey.
Here's the story.
It's Turd coin, and it's the number 2 social currency that nobody knows about.
I'm ready for it. Where's it at?
You know, like I said earlier. I mean, I've had lots of great ideas. I minted what would it have been 10 million, whatever the max number of Turd tokens, and literally it's TURD, and my positioning was going to be that it's the number 2 social token. And then, you know, because in poker every week everybody would be on. I did send someone some Turd coin a while back, and I think it was Turd. Because he was the genesis one night that we had been talking. I'm like, how come there is no Turd coin? So yeah, so he was Turdy Boy. That was his name in poker, or Whale Poker, and so I definitely had to tip him out a little bit to make sure. But at this point, I still hold, what would that be, 99.49% of the supply of Turd. I still have some ideas. To be honest, I actually had talked to a relative who could do some art for it, but I wanted to. The concept was going to be that you could gift somebody, you know, something that, like, if they park like shit, you could give them a Turd item or something like that, and in return you would get, you know, some Turd coin, and then I'd offer something that would be available for only in Turd. But you know, as soon as you get in
bags that are on fire.
It has to be flaming bags of poo on a front porch.
That's exactly it. We've got an NFT idea to go with the coin now. We're ready.
Oh, let's see here. As a Canadian, are you looking forward to an NHL project or NFT? NHL NFT. I could not be looking forward to hockey moments, assuming that would be what would be revealed. I couldn't possibly want them any more than I do right now. That is absolutely going to be. It has to happen. Let's put it that way. And I will be all in there, just like I was in basketball. Now, I will confess, my invitation to Top Shot was not definitely not due to my knowledge of NBA basketball at the time. However, I think a lot of people have kind of commented the same thing, which is, you know, even if you weren't a big NBA fan when it started, what it's enabled for me is actually, it's really brought me into understanding the game better. And what really kind of, I've told my buddies who were the big NBA fans, you know, I'm like, I get why I don't watch sports that much, or didn't watch sports. It's because, you know, it's just a bunch of random dudes running around. I don't know their names. I don't know what makes them special. I don't know, you know, and these guys, and I guess the other part too is these guys are they're the sports guys, right? Like, I don't know if they're listening. I'd sent them the link, so they may or may not be listening. I have a story too to follow up with this one. But
is it the story about when you maybe talked to a player?
Well, that one will follow. But I do. Even if he's listening or he listens on repeat, I have to tell the story about my buddy who turned me down for being invited to the beta for Top Shot. But not to gloss over the question. As a Canadian, hockey is life. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. So, okay, back to my buddy. So shout out to my buddy. I'll just give his name. He's Raps Champs 2019, so I won't give out his real name. I'm not sure he would want that. But like I said, I was invited into Top Shot for the fan panel. That's like well before launch. It was back in April, and I think it was July. We were asked if we could expand the beta and find true NBA fans, right? And obviously, I immediately thought of my buddies, the guys who talk about it nonstop. So I'm like, hey, sent them an email, say, hey, you guys if you're interested, let me know. I can get you in. And it's really pretty cool from what we've seen so far. It's the whole product looks really good. And I think I'd even sent them, whether it was allowed at the time, I'd sent them some short videos of opening the packs and things. And one guy didn't respond. And the other guy, who I was just talking about, he's always been known in our circle of friends as being probably the one who's probably the most conservative, the most risk averse. And I told him, I said, there's no need to. You're not obligated to spend $1 at all. Like if you buy a pack, it's your choice. Like they're not forcing you to buy a minimum. They want some people who understand, who are fans of basketball, to come in and provide some constructive feedback. Yeah, no, man, I'm not comfortable. I don't think it's right for me. I think I'm going to have to pass. And you know why he passed? He passed because for the last 3 years leading up to that, all he saw was me breeding digital cats. So
was he the person that was over at New Year's Eve?
No, he was not over New Year's Eve. But I've been on. I confess I may have had an issue with the kitties in terms of obsessing, but that's
part of being a Cryptokitties player, though.
We take golf trips, pandemic aside, we take golf trips once a year down to Florida, and the boys are over there. They're we're playing cards in some areas. I'm on my computer breeding digital cats, and you'll remember the time, Moose. I still want, and I would kill. No, that's wrong. I shouldn't say that. I desperately hope that someday we do see the Chef Curry's kitties coming out.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, I desperately wanted those. And I thought for sure, because at the time that was going to be, the timing couldn't have been more perfect to have that out there. And then when it fell aside, then, that's, again, it was a bit more another nail in the coffin for them, me doing stupid things, spending money on digital cats and breeding them and stuff. But so he, back to, I guess, Top Shot, he turned me down, and I couldn't push because, let's be honest, when you're trying to explain some of these things to why somebody might want to come in, everybody throws the phrase Ponzi scheme around and pyramid scheme and things like that. And, if you don't word it very well, and if you're just it can sound kind of like, ugh.
It's kind of like a scheme, or when I'm trying to explain about whale, I'm like, I swear to God, it's not a cult. But let me tell you about being in it.
Let me tell you why you want to be a part of whale.
Right, like I'm really excited about a lot of the projects and the communities. And because I'm so excited, it almost seems disingenuous. I'm like, well, I don't know how to sell it.
Yeah, I know. I guess I'm not the marketing guy because I haven't figured out how to make it not sound like a little bit icky. But fast forward to to current time or present day, and he half jokingly and half not jokingly loves to tell me that I really should have pushed harder, been more convincing back in July because I suck. And if I had pushed harder, maybe he would be in.
Now it's your fault.
Yeah, so now it's entirely my fault that I didn't push my pyramid scheme harder. So sorry, I'm sniffling. I was probably picking it up in the mic. So.
Should have been more convincing.
Yeah. So nobody, but they're in now. Everybody's loving it. It's fun. Okay, what else is going there? Have you thought about doing a sports project? It's an open-ended question, and the answer is yes. Okay. What are the things to consider when investing in a newly launched project that offers NFTs? Well, I mean, it's so the joking answer is YOLO.
Is it fun or quirky? We're probably in.
Yeah. So the response. So there's a couple different answers, right? So that's the first one, which is the semi-joking answer. Then there's the answer, which if you're not talking about just somebody who's releasing like digital art, right? Then it's, do you love the art? Do you love, I should spend more time looking at artists and trying to learn more about them, but there's only a handful of people that I really, I guess, know well enough to pay that attention to. yeah, I guess if you're talking about a bigger project, something that's actually trying to build a broader community around a, like whether it's a platform, I guess one of the things, just as an example, is I don't know if the world needs another super rare, like another platform like Makerspace or any of those things. Like, I'm pretty sure we might have that covered. But the question is what's the new utility that you can introduce that might bring that to? And you look at some of the things like Nifty-Fi is a good example. I really love what those guys did, because it was just a simple idea that says, I've got these high valued NFTs just sitting there. I've got other things I want to buy. Do you think somebody would lend me some ETH in exchange for a little bit of a interest type payback? And it's a bit like, I don't know if that qualifies as true DeFi, or DeFi, but it was a really great concept at the time, and hey, it worked well for me a couple times, and I really like that idea. The sharding of NFTs I thought was another brilliant thing. So really, that's kind of what I look for, is what do I feel maybe that I can't do today that would have some value, and that's kind of where I would look. You don't suck, he sucks. I actually forget what that's about. It's probably about my buddy. Am I going to go? That's a good question. Are you going to go hard on UFC by Dapper? It's actually UFC on Flow, first of all. No is the answer. I think it's a great project. I'll probably, I guess I'm interpreting that as being, am I going to go, heavy all in? The answer is no. I get UFC, but for me it's a little different than NBA. I don't know anything about the market. I don't know anything about the there's just so much I don't know. I mean, I'll be happy to, I guess, consult if I'm asked, or provide some opinions. I did answer the survey, and I may have exaggerated a little bit just in terms of how much I've watched. I mean, I still honestly remember, this is how old I am. I remember single digit UFC fights that we used to watch on pay-per-view in one of my buddy's basements. And literally the same night that we were watching UFC, we watched the original Mortal Kombat movie. And I was 100% convinced that I enjoyed Mortal Kombat better than UFC, because UFC I didn't find it interesting. There was a lot of grappling and standing around. So not to disparage anything, but that's really, for me, that's what UFC is. I'm more about, so I've had season tickets to the Blue Jays in years past. I love baseball. I'm looking forward to potentially Major League Baseball. I'm looking forward to the NHL, like we talked about earlier. I'm actually looking forward to NFL, because for the same reason as NBA, I haven't been a huge fan of football, just for the same reason that I don't know enough about the players. And I guess I kind of have this empathy thing where I like to feel like I'm connected to something if I want to get interested into it. And that's just hasn't happened in the past. So I'm really hoping kind of those pro sports come along and are just equally as interesting, if not, by the time any of those other leagues come around, maybe there'll be more, established community activities and things like that. And hopefully I can be a part of that too. Like, I'm really, I'm I guess a couple teases if I can make it happen. I know there's only a week left, but there's a big tournament coming up in college basketball. You can't say the name because it's trademarked, right? But look at maybe putting a Top Shot community bracket pool out there. So prizes in moments, and we'll see if we can get that pulled together and out there in time. But that's what I did a quick beta test with some of my buddies and set up the pool today. So we'll see how that goes.
Now that you're doing more with the Top Shot events, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Actually, you know what? I really love this last question. Well, maybe it's not last question. I don't even know what the time is. We have to wrap at 6, I guess, right?
We're probably pretty close. We have a mod meeting, but you still owe us a story.
Also. Okay. So let me answer this question, then I'll come back to the story, because it's just, I hope it never dies because it's funny. So, favorite NBA team. So the obvious answer is the Raptors. Although lately, I have to say that I am becoming a bit of a New Orleans Pelicans fan. I love the Hornets as well. So I'm kind of torn right now. You got the hometown loyalty, but I just lately have, and maybe it's just the COVID protocols keeping some of the key players out. But heartbreaking loss last night with one of those last second buzzer beater threes. It was just a dagger in the heart. But I mean, the team gave it away before that. Okay, so the story that you're you're waiting for. So
I'm so ready.
Okay.
It's the story of how MH sort of met pro NBA players.
Potential rookie of the year, Tyrese Hamilton. Or that's right. I always say it, Halliburton, obviously. So I'm modding the Discord general. I don't know, one day, probably 2 weeks ago or something like that. And somebody noticed that Tyrese Halliburton, at Tyrese Halliburton, had joined the server. So I sent him a DM. Said, if this is the real Tyrese Halliburton, let me know. I can assign the NBA player role to you, and you'll have access to a few more channels, and we can help you get ramped up. He had just joined the server. In one of the mod Discord channels, we were talking about it. He was actually streaming it that night with, I think it was Josh Hart. Was it Marion Bell? Anyway, yeah. So a couple of the players are streaming, ripping packs, having a great old time. And in the room, somebody had said that no, Tyrese Hamilton, he's like tie 0 something or tie 22. And what I interpreted from that was that his Discord name was that. They were referring, I guess, to his Top Shot name. So I bounced back over to the DM, and he'd responded saying, hey, yeah, hook me up. Well, of course, based on the information I had just received, this is obviously somebody's trying to scam and misrepresent themselves as Tyrese Halliburton. So I said it. So I kind of said as such. I may have even sworn at him a couple times. And ultimately, I knew he's like, come on, man, how do I make this? How do we make this real? And he actually sent a screen grab of just a picture of him on same kind of window as what he was broadcasting on. And again, I'm still at this point so convinced that it's a scammer. I'm like, not good enough, because I assume you could just somebody just grabbed a screen grab off the stream and blah blah blah. So I don't think I was being as aggressive, but I was basically saying, listen, man, I don't believe you. We're gonna have to figure this out. So I'm like, he's like, how do we make this work? Yeah, I said, well, tell you what, I know you're on stream right now. In the next 10 seconds, just flash a peace sign on stream, and and then of course, what do? I start counting down 10, 5, 4, 3, and you can see him on stream, and he's kind of looking down, a little smirk, and he just goes, and I'm like, wait, what? Oh. And I immediately knew at that moment that I really effed up.
And it was then that I realized my first impression.
Yeah, the narrator comes over, and it was at that moment, or the screeching record sound. How did we get here? So yes, I have the notoriety of being the guy that called Tyrese Halliburton a scammer and almost booted him from the Top Shot Discord one night. But he's a dude. I apologize. He's like, no problem, man. I totally understand. You guys get all kinds of. I'm like, yeah, we get all kinds of people impersonating. I mean, Jesus Christ came in not too long ago. I don't know if he's still floating around. So we have for the context, we have a user that floats around the Top Shot Discord whose name is Jesus. So, and he has the picture of the biblical Jesus. So.
Interesting, for sure. Trying to keep everybody safe, but oh man.
Yeah, my rationale for when somebody asked me why I was asking, I think it was the guy pretending to be Stephen A. Smith, why I wanted him to change his name but not Jesus. I said, well, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to believe that the real Messiah is has come back and is buying Top Shot moments. I don't think there's a lot of risk of that being a valuable choice of somebody to misrepresent.
This is very true, but that is I think an amazing story, because not only is it hilarious and pretty classic you of like, I'm gonna just tell people what's up. But it's also, like it shows like how much effort I think that our mod team puts into keeping the community safe and like making sure that we're not getting those skimmers, even if sometimes, it turns out we have to go back and, kind of
mend some fences.
Right. But that's important, and we do that. And
I don't mind apologizing to anybody when I do something wrong. I live. This is how I live my life, and if I follow my gut and I make a mistake every now and then, so be it.
Which is probably the best way to go, right? Because if you're not stepping out there and doing the cool stuff, you're gonna miss out.
Yeah, exactly. That's I gotta put that on a t-shirt.
New, staying safe, right?
Well, this has been a blast. Thank you so much.
This has been. I really appreciate you coming, hanging out, spending your Friday night here with the whale community, answering questions and telling us stories, kind of guiding us through what it's like being an OG in the crypto space and some of those adventures we've had over the years.
Yeah, an unlikely millionaire, as the Wall Street Journal says.
Yes, which is probably the best kind. Like, who can plan this sort of thing anyway? It's an adventure.
Exactly.
Every day proves it.
Yep.
Awesome.
So is this the point where we have no idea how to outro? Is that
no? We don't have an outro, so we just awkwardly are like, okay, well, we're going to end this stream because we have a mod meeting for the Top Shot server. So
I will say that the intro music was definitely good. I think that's definitely potential ASMR undertone music for.
Maybe we can get Daniel from the Top Shot server to do the ASMR outro for us. Nice. There's been some requests there, so we can leverage that. We'll go put in the request now. All right, so yeah, with that we will end this stream. But thank you so much, MH. Know that we hang out a bunch anyway in all of the different Discords, but I think it's awesome that you were willing to come and share your story and chat with me for an hour, and that's awesome. I think the whale community has maybe got a lot of good info about how things have progressed over the years too, which is always helpful.
Anytime. I would come back anytime and share more stories, because something tells me that there's we barely scratched the surface on some of them. So
we will definitely do that again. All right, everyone, we will see you later. Have a good rest of your night. We've got Steph actually will be streaming on her Twitch at 7, and then the first mint's happening tonight. So there's a lot of Top Shot things happening later too. So, all
awesome.
right.
Much love, everyone.
Bye, everyone.